project handlebar. Being locked down has got us doing arts and crafts now. But I'm fine, I promise. For this project, we're going to be doing bokeh hacks. So if you're not familiar with what bokeh is the aesthetic blur in the out of focus portion of an image. Sometimes it's points of light, sometimes it's just the background that's out of focus, but it's the aesthetic quality of that out of focus. I'm going to show you a couple hacks for doing some really cool things that you wouldn't normally be able to do from a normal photograph. And that's where the arts and crafts come in. So for this first one, we're actually going to be creating some shapes. What we're going to do is we're going to take our lens, place it down, grab yourself a pen, draw a line around it. Alright, now we have ourselves a circle, at least the beginnings of one. What I'm going to do is cut that circle out. Now remember, I traced around the outside of the lens, so I'm actually going to cut the circle just a little bit smaller. Now think of a fun shape, something simple, not too crazy. I've already done a couple. I've done a star, a heart. Let's do, I don't know, a cat face. Let's make those ears just a little bit bigger so they stand out a little bit more. Maybe make the face a little rounder. I'm not an artist, people. Not in the drawing sense. Alright, now, so you don't hurt your mom's table or your wife's table or whatever, go ahead and use a cutting board and then cut that shape out with an X-Acto knife. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to tape this onto the front of the lens. Just like that. And, well, let me just show you. Okay, like I said, we're going to take this cutout and tape it to the front of the lens. Now I'm using gaff tape, but painter's tape would be another good choice. It's not quite as strong, but it comes off the camera without leaving a bunch of sticky residue. Now what this does is it actually creates a second aperture, so you're going to need either a lot of light if you're going to be shooting a moving subject, like a person or something like that. If you're shooting a still subject, it's not as bad. You're just going to have a longer shutter speed, which means you're going to need to use a tripod or something to support it on. But you have a second aperture, which is going to like reduce the amount of light that's coming in. Now what I want to do is actually shoot these fairy lights here, which you can pick up at the hardware store for about $8, maybe a little bit more than $8 after tax. But they work really, really well for this. I can have a subject in front of it, or I can just shoot the lights itself. The key is to have the lights themselves out of focus. This is what they look like in focus. Okay, let's try a different one. Now you can shoot a subject, make sure you focus on the subject. Make sure the subject is far enough away from the lights, that way when you focus on the subject, the lights are not in focus. I'm going to need the lights down a little bit lower for this one. Actually, you know what? This picture wouldn't be half bad if this runner weren't here. This runner is kind of distracting. Let's see if I can pull this out. Now it could be a really good idea just to take some photos of these with your different shape cutouts all by themselves without any kind of subject, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. Cool little trick. Okay, for this next one, you're going to need some clear Scotch tape or some packing tape, just any kind of clear tape. And I'm actually going to cut this lengthwise. And then tape it to the front of the camera lens. Don't actually let it touch the glass. That's then it's really hard to bring off afterwards. All right, once that's on the camera lens, we're going to color the tape any color you want. I'm using red and black, just dry erase markers. You can use highlighters, anything that's not going to be opaque, semi-transparent. So I wouldn't use Sharpies. All right, let's go have a little fun with that. Okay, to show you how this one works, I have a really simple setup. I've got a subject out there. I just picked one of my wife's knickknacks that I thought was cute. Put up a white background just to make it simple. I'm going to shoot with a really wide aperture, 1.8 on 85mm lens. Just going to line it up. Make sure it's in focus. Now because of the lighting in here, it's 1/20th of a second shutter speed, so I have it resting on the table so there's no shake. Take my shot. Okay, and the last one we're going to do is a really cool effect called the zoom effect. So what's going to happen is I'm going to set my shutter for about half of a second, at least half of a second. And I'm going to point it towards the subject, and when I take the shot, as I'm taking the shot, I'm actually going to zoom in and out while the shutter is open. It creates a really cool effect like this. Okay, for a really good zoom effect, what you're going to want to do is surround your subject with the lights, so the lights are kind of all around it. You're going to want to put your camera on a tripod because you want your shutter speed, like I said before, to be about half a second. You want at least a half a second. And you push the shutter, and when you do, you zoom out or in. I'll do it a couple times. Now here's the important part. The part that's going to be most in focus is the part that's going to be in the most center of your frame. So whatever part you want to be most noticeable, for me it's the words, you want to put that in the center of your frame because that's going to have the least amount of blur. Let's see what we got. This trick is also really good to do without a subject against a black background for the exact same reason as the little trick I'm going to show you with the shapes. So I'm going to take a couple shots here with no subject at all. Okay, let me show you that trick I was talking about. Okay, so as promised, got you in here to Photoshop. I'm going to show you a couple different things you can do with those light bokeh images that we created with the shapes and with the zoom effect. It's really simple. We've got several layers here, including this original background layer photo I took a couple years ago. Just turn on one of these layers, and yeah, right now it's not very nice, but what I'm going to do is make it a little bigger to match the size of the image that I have. So Control T to adjust, and then just zoom that out to where you want it. Hit enter when you're done. Now the fun part is blend modes. All you need to do is move that down to screen, and only the light pops through, none of the black. I can make some really cool backgrounds out of it. Let's say I wanted it to be a background and not a foreground. Right now with these in front of her, it's a foreground. Well, create a mask, and remember masks, paint with black and you hide, paint with white and you reveal. So we're just going to paint with black.
on this mask. And what's going on? Oh, because I'm not painting with a brush. That's why. Make sure you have brush selected. There, now none of this is actually showing on her, so it looks like everything's in the background. And you can apply multiple layers, so let's say I wanted to just create a copy of that layer. I can move that layer around a little bit to add a little bit more if I wanted some more. And remember, I can paint with a paintbrush on the mask to get rid of the effect on her and her face. Also, you see this unsightly line here. Just get a nice soft brush. Can make that line disappear a little bit. So that's what that one looks like. I want to do some stars. Remember, Control T, once you have the layer selected, to adjust its size. Pull it to the size that you want. You can also move it around a little bit and adjust it if you want. Blend mode, screen. Create a mask. Brush off the ones you don't want. And you have some stars. Here is the zoom effect image that we did. Control T. Let's say I want it to come off of her. I'm going to pull this out. Blend mode, screen. Now we just clean it up a little bit with a brush and a mask. Now, because I have this image cut off here, it might be a good idea to crop this image in a little bit. And that makes a cool image. And if I wanted to, I could even add a few hearts in there. Don't want to move that one. Blend mode screen. Clean it up with a mask. And there we go. Fun little image. Lots of different ways you can use this. Alright, if you learned anything from this video, if you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. It helps me show it to others. Subscribe if you want to see more. Do the project yourself. Share the results in the Project Handlebar Facebook group or on Instagram, hashtag Project Handlebar, and make sure to tag the Project Handlebar Facebook page. I enjoyed working with you guys, and I can't wait to see what you do.